Hi, I'm Sandi Genovese, and I have such a fun project to share with you today. I am a lover of donuts, and we are going to be creating this corkboard that has the look of donuts that surprisingly is not difficult to make. I started this whole project because I somehow or other, I don't remember what I was looking for, but I found these little tacks, and if I take one of them off, you'll see what I mean. They're like thumbtacks, but they have these puffy fabric dotted tops to them. I saw them online and they looked to me like the sprinkles on top of a donut. So then I Googled donuts projects and I found that if you could find cork, it was a really cool thing to create a cork board with it. Well, it turns out it's not difficult at all to find cork, and I found it in a couple of different ways. Here you can see the roll, and this roll is, I believe it's 2 feet wide by 4 feet long. And I just picked it up at Staples. They also have sheets and they have smaller cork if you want to do the whole project, but in a smaller version. For coasters, you can see many choices. After I've worked with it, I will tell you that going forward, I think if I were to do this again, I would choose the sheet. And let me explain to you why. The manufacturers all tell you that once you cut the cork into whatever shape you want and you create your project, that you need to fasten it either to foam core or wood or some support because it wants to warp. And I found that mine did. So I put it on foam core. In fact, let me show you what I did. Let's just go through the steps. I started with a magnet bulletin board that I had that was a good size, and it was a circle and it was perfect to use as a template. So I took this and I set this down and I rolled out the cork, and I think it was a mistake. I rolled out the cork. You want to do it the cork so that how you're going to fasten it on to the foam core is going to be so that the curl is going in the direction toward the foam core. But you're going to lay this on the cork, trace around it, cut it out, lay it on the foam core, trace around it, and with an X-Acto knife, cut it out. Then you're going to put the two together. And what I did was I just took a 3-inch circle and I used that as a guide for cutting the center hole. What I did was I laid it down on the cork, the 3-inch circle, traced around it, and then I used an X-Acto knife to make an X, and then got in there and trimmed away. Now, if you happen to have somebody who's handy who can help you, you can fasten the whole sheet of cork to a whole sheet of foam core, and then you can use a saw to cut it out. So whatever is the easiest way for you, but it is not at all difficult to cut the cork with scissors. Then if you want to see what the icing is going to look like, what I did was, I'll bring this up so you can see it on here. I took mailing paper and I used this as a guide in order to see what it was going to look like. If I just lightly set it down, you'll see that this is the shape of the pink frosting. So I am going to lay this down. And what I did was I just took chalk, and if you don't know this, if you have just regular chalkboard size chalk, if you have any chalk paint in your house, you may have this. It is easy to take the bigger opening on a pencil sharpener, and I'll use this end because most of the time this chalk started off flat on both ends, but it is not difficult at all to sharpen your chalk. And once you have it sharpened, it's so easy to work with. You can see how it's going to take a minute, and I probably won't bother to do the whole thing, but let's see how far I've got here. You can see how it's going to sharpen it right up. So once you have it sharpened, then lay it down and go ahead, trace around the mailing paper all the way around to get your design. Now, as I'm getting to the end, it's not a perfect science, so it's not going to really matter, but you can lightly pick it up, see if you missed any spots, lay it back down, and add any places where you may have missed. However, if you've missed, it really doesn't need to be perfect. It's supposed to replicate the look of a donut. So don't worry about it if it's not exact. Once you've done that, then it's time to paint. And I decided I wanted to really kind of cover the texture of the cork somewhat. So I used a brown and a pink for mine, and I'm going to go ahead and just shake it up. And it's just regular craft paint that I bought at the craft store. It's probably, I'm going to squirt it out here, it probably would be easiest to use a paintbrush, but this is what I had, so I used it, and it has a nice edge. So I didn't do any mixing of the paint. I'm going to just, I'll start down in this corner, so I try not to drag my sleeve through the paint, but I'm going to use my chalk as my edge, my line, and just go back and paint right up to that chalk line. I tended to go kind of sideways with it, but you can see how it gives you a nice straight edge, and then go back and add. I'm not going to stop to do the whole thing because of the amount of time that takes. You don't need to worry if you have areas like this that are a little squirrely. I can fix it with the brown, but also once it's dry, I can go right over the top with the pink. So you can see it really is forgiving. It's easy to work with, and it's very cool. Now, I don't have time to wait for this to dry, and I only thought to do 2 of them. I really should have done 3 so that I could show you the next stage. But you're going to replicate the same process. You're going to take the pink, squirt it in, take a new applicator. This has to be completely dry, and it does take a few hours. Then you're going to go back and you're going to paint the pink. And if I bring up and show you my finished one, you'll see just what I mean. You can see how I've just painted the pink right up to the edge. Now, if you look closely, you can see that I've gone back and I've added what looks like the drizzle icing over the top. It was incredibly simple because in Hobby Lobby, I found these paints that are called dimensional adhesive paint. So the white, I might use the chocolate too, because it would look good to have chocolate drizzle on some. But once you've done all of the brown around the edge and all of the pink frosting, let both of those dry. And then you just take this, and all you need to do, it tells you to shake this against your hand a few times to get bubbles out. I didn't have any trouble with bubbles. However, it did take a little bit. It squirts out. I'll squirt it on something so you can kind of see what I mean. But you want to, I don't have the pink on there to squirt it on there. Let's just do it on this. So let's pretend like this is pink. All you need to do is just take off the lid and start it off to the edge so that by the time you start on the icing of the donut itself, you don't have this, see how clumsy my beginning was right here? It is not going to let you go back because there is adhesive in this and it's kind of rubbery. It does not let you go back with a paintbrush and touch it. I mean, you could touch it, but it doesn't move. So it doesn't help to try to go back and smooth off any rough patches. So it's already squirting out. Let me just show you. All you're going to do is just something like this. It goes on this easily. It is not difficult. And if you want to see what it's going to look like first, because I hadn't worked with it before, what I did was, I'm going to move that before I run my shirt through it. What I did was I took white ribbon and I took my painted donut that was just the chocolate and the pink, and I laid it down in order to see how I wanted my pattern to go. I just swirled it around, and when I saw a design that I liked, I thought, okay, that's what I'm going to do. Then I picked it up and I went ahead and I did the same thing, just using the paint that was in the tube. It was so cool and easy. The final touch are these cool tacks. Now I will put a link up to it if for some reason, you know, they strike you as fun as they did me and you want to use these, that's great. But I found a lot of other options that also work great. So let me bring this up and show you what I did. I found at the hardware store lots of thumbtacks, and these tacks, you know, they're built very much the same as the ones. They don't have quite as long of a tip, but they work great, and they have colors. You could go back with a white marker and mark sprinkles or dots on them, but I discovered it's really cool to take a circle punch that's the same or close to the same size, and I thought I would just do a few. So I'm going to do, let's do an orange, and I'll do a yellow, and I'll do a blue. 3 kind of different colors. So I'm going to punch out the circles. If you haven't seen me do this before, when I need to fasten something down, trying to place adhesive on something small, I take my sticky note and I turn these over so the side that needs adhesive is facing up, and the sticky part of the note is holding it so it doesn't want to slide and move all around while I apply the adhesive, because I want adhesive to go all the way out to the edges. Make sure it's everywhere on these. Looks like I might have missed a little spot there. Then you're going to take and, let's see, I don't even remember which one is which, but I'm going to put these on the matching color so that if there's any little sliver that shows, it looks intentional. So this one I'm going to put on the yellow. So I'm going to just set it down. And what I did to make sure it really stuck was I turned it upside down, and with my fingers I just pressed all the way around to get that adhesive to really set up. And you can see it's going to create a really cool, what looks like a little sprinkle. Here's the blue. I'm going to do the same thing. And here's the orange. Do the same thing. And then once again, in order to get that to really stick, I'm going to turn it over and press against it. Do the same thing with the little blue tack. And then I'll stick these on the bulletin board so you can see. I think these are cute too. Let me find a spot where blue would look good. How about right about here? And I'll add this little orange one maybe right here. And I'll add, I need some lighter colors down here, so let's add the yellow maybe right here. Of course, it's going to be cool when you go back and you add in the photos, but I was surprised. You know, cork, it's easy to find, and it's the perfect material for making a donut theme bulletin board. Now, all I need to do is add the photos.